Learning autonomy is important in distance learning, including assessment of learning outcomes. One of the main barriers to learning and assessment in distance education is the absence of interaction between teachers and students in a learning environment. The individualized form of learning and the lack of interaction for assessment are challenges for both students who need instructional help and for teachers who want to assist students in cognitive development. May I present to you the use of thematic approach in addressing assessment gaps in the new normal education. The abrupt shift of education in distance learning programs lacks mechanisms for teachers to assess and provide feedback and formative guidance to students. According to Allen 2004, assessment is an important instructional component that collects information as regards to the knowledge, skills, and values that students have learned. In the assessment conducted by Surigao del Sur Division during the first quarter of school year 2020 to 2021, teachers are challenged to provide assessment in distance learning delivery. They claim that provision of a wide range of assessment tools to learners, the development of flexible assessment tools to learners, and the delivery of authentic performance assessment to measure learners' understanding were very challenging. This result of the assessment concluded the teachers find it very difficult to design, deliver, and evaluate assessment as well as assessment results in the new normal education. In short, nahihirapan ang aming mga guro sa pagbibigay ng angkop na pagtataya sa distance learning education. The challenges encountered by teachers prompted Surigao del Sur Division to develop an assessment mechanism aligned to the two policies released by the Department of Education. DepEd Order No. 31 Series of 2020 mandated that school shall design assessment that is integrative and collaborative, stressing that assessment should be holistic and authentic to capture the attainment of the most essential learning competencies. DepEd Memorandum No. 307 Series of 2020 also stated that assessment in schools must be interdisciplinary, and with that, schools must design performance tasks as an assessment of learning that integrate competencies and learning areas to foster academic ease. Upang matugunan ang mga panukalang nabanggit at upang matulungan ang aming mga guro sa aming paaralan, napagdesisyonan ng Curriculum Implementation Division na subukan ang paggamit ng thematic approach sa pagbuo ng mga material sa pagtataya dahil ito ang nakikita naming makapagbibigay ng mabisang paraan sa pagtataya sa distance education. So that we are guided with the necessary steps in resolving the issues, this study answered the following questions. Number 1, what are the challenges encountered by teachers of Surigao del Sur Division in the delivery of quality assessment? Number 2, what actions were done to address the challenges of teachers in the delivery of quality assessment? And number 3, what is a significant impact of using a thematic approach to teachers in the delivery of quality assessment? We started this research from the evaluation of the challenges encountered by our teachers in the delivery of quality assessment. The result of the evaluation responded by 3,168 teachers were carefully analyzed and used in the comprehensive planning to provide direct actions in addressing the challenges. Sa mga nakalap na hinaing mula sa aming mga guro, sinimula namin doon ang pagbuo ng plano upang matugunan ang kanilang mga pangangailangan. And from that, we designed necessary steps using the thematic approach to assessment. The thematic approach to assessment covered the whole year implementation, including revision, evaluation, and finalization. Upang makapagsimula kami, bumuo kami ng mga piling guro mula sa grades 1 to 12 na maging bahagi sa paggawa ng theme-based assessment. We provided capacity building using synchronous and asynchronous online and face-to-face modalities from November to December 2020. We started the process with 15 steps during the pilot development of the materials, and the developed materials were piloted in the whole division during the first quarter of the school year. Para magkaroon kami ng mga basihan para masiguro na mabisa ang nagawang material, a focus group discussions with select developers were conducted. The purpose of FGD is to evaluate the feasibility of the development process and steps. We also select teacher users in the document analysis to evaluate the usability of the theme-based assessment materials. The results of the FGD and documents analysis were the basis of revisions of the new process, which trimmed down from 15 steps to 12 steps. The revised process now were introduced to wider group of writers during series of capacity building to teachers and school leaders. Lahat ng 37 districts ay involved sa paggawa ng thematic assessment materials. The process and its steps were finalized and disseminated to the whole division in the third and fourth quarters, where we provided massive capacity building to teachers in the whole division. Para maabot namin ang lahat ng guro sa buong division, ginamit namin ang iba't ibang platforms and modalities tulad ng paggamit ng YouTube channels, LAC sessions, and in-service trainings in districts and schools. Ang mga gurong naging trained mula sa pilot development hanggang the finalized version ay naging trainers na din, facilitators, mentors, at coaches. And to see if there is an impact of the thematic design in the delivery of quality assessment, we conducted the year-end evaluation to our teachers. To give all of you a clearer picture of our thematic journey, I will be showing to you the results of all our efforts in coming up this innovation. From the results of the survey we conducted at the beginning of the school year, teachers declared that they experienced very challenging tasks in the delivery of quality assessment. Hindi nila alam paano gagawin ang pagbibigay ng dekalidad na pagtataya sa bawat mag-aaral. And topping the list, teachers experience very challenging tasks in the delivery of authentic performance assessment to measure learners' understanding. Paano nga ba susukatin? At ano ang pamamaraan ng pagsukat? Since there is absence of interaction between teachers and students in the distance learning, teachers claim that it is very difficult to design and deliver authentic performance tasks to learners. Teachers implied also that they experience extreme challenges in measuring the reliability and validity of assessment results that determine learners' progress. More than this, provision of wide range of assessment tools to learners and the development of flexible assessment tools is difficult for them in the distance learning delivery. Sabi nga ng isang guro, paano niya masusukat ang kakayahan ng kanyang mga estudyante ngayong hindi niya nakikita ang mga ito at hindi niya nakikita kung paano nito gagawin ang pagpapayaman ng kanyang natutuhan. Teachers have even claimed that if the challenges continued to persist, learning outcomes will not be measured as required by the competencies. With the challenging clamor of teachers in distance learning, our development of PAG-ASA highlighted the use of thematic approach in the development of assessment materials because we see that these best support effective learning in the distance education. Sinubukan naming gawin ang isang mapanghamong disenyo sa gitna ng pandemya. This PAG-ASA provided a reference for teachers to engage in integrative thematic approach as a provision of assessment in the new normal. PAG-ASA stands for Performance Assessment Guide for Authentic Students' Achievement. We believe that word PAG-ASA is somehow giving hope to lessen the burden of teachers and students by reducing the number of tasks required by schools without sacrificing the goals of learning. PAG-ASA used a theme-based approach where authentic performance tasks provided a realistic assessment that minimizes the risk of wasting resources and maximizes learning outcomes. This is a way of assessing where learning areas are connected and integrated into a theme. Tinitingnan namin dito paano tutuhugin ng isang gawain task o output ang iba't ibang competencies at subject areas. This concept allowed learners to connect their learning and understanding to real-life learning experiences. Sinisiguro namin na sa bawat paggawa ng bata ng isang output ay maisa sa buhay niya doon ang kanyang kaalaman at naiintindihan mula sa kanyang mga karanasan at sa kung ano pa ang magagawa niya sa buhay gamit ang aral na kanyang natutuhan mula sa kanyang mga module. To tell you more about our process steps, PAG-ASA has 3 development phases. These phases were used by the development teams as they collaborate in the crafting of learners' performance assessment guide. Phase 1 focused on the different preliminary activities. The first step in thematic assessment is the review of the most essential learning competencies, content standards, and performance standards. This step allowed teachers to understand what learning outcomes are expected by the content and the performance standards and what skills are expected by the competencies. Tinitingnan dito ng bawat guro kung ano ang inaasahan ng bawat learning area, anong hinihingi ng content at performance standards, at anong kakayahan ang gustong maipakita ng bawat kasanayang pampagkatuto. Kapag nakuha na ng guro ang target ng bawat competency, susundan niya ito ng Step 2, which allowed teachers to decide which competency shall be used. This is where teachers need to look where the contents, performance standards, and competencies can be capsulized. Teachers now choose a competency in a quarter that will capsulize the rest of the competencies with maximum consideration on the achievement of performance standards. In Step 3, our teachers think about what experiences can learners practically apply in their real life and how these learnings can make them functional in their society. Our authentic assessment ensures how our students use and apply their knowledge and skills in real-life settings. Our teachers deepen the learning goals and design select appropriate learning experiences to be used by learners in the assessment process. With so many learning experiences, Step 4 help our teachers decide what learning experiences are deemed appropriate for every competency. These learning experiences serve as learners' takeaways while they progress with the assessment and the outputs to be produced. Isa sa mga maximum considerations ng mga guro sa pagpili ng karanasan ay ang mga naaangkop lamang sa kanilang tahanan, pamilya at komunidad, lalo na't panahon ng pandemya. Phase 2 focused on themes and its connections to learning experiences. In Step 5, our teachers are determining the themes to be used in the assessment designs. Teachers select themes that is of interest to students and relevant to the curriculum. Usually, themes used in the materials are based on the value of the content and performance standards. Naniniwala kasi kami na when themes are relevant to students' interest, it will encourage active participation. And with the thematic requirement at hand, learners can closely resemble how real life is experienced outside the school and the classroom. Step 6 help teachers group the learning areas. After teachers decided on a theme to be used in assessment, they group the learning areas accordingly. In grouping the learning areas, teachers consider the real-life learning experiences that will naturally flow with the theme. They even grouped learning areas that were smoothly integrated because of similar concepts. Teachers then connected the learning areas and the learning experiences to thematic experiences in Step 7. The integration of the learning experience to the theme enabled learners to work coherently and holistically. The integration associated whatever they learn from their surroundings to the real-life experiences. It is always a valid concept that when learning experiences are connected to the theme, students are learning in context. After adjustments of learning and thematic experiences, teachers proceed to Step 8. They decided on the activity or output that learners would do to show their ideas and skills from specific thematic context. Teachers here design the most appropriate and most relevant tasks or outputs to be required from the learners. Phase 3, focus on the packaging of learners' assessment materials. In Step 9, teachers prepare the authentic performance guide sheet or the learner's assessment materials. Teachers listed down the activities and steps that learners must do, including the resources needed and the expected learning experiences. After preparing the guide sheets, Step 10 helped teachers on the crafting of assessment tools and rubrics. This is done to indicate achievement criteria across all the components of any kind of learner's work from the thematic assessment. Teachers developed and used rubrics to provide structured performance criteria on the different levels of performance on assessment tasks, outputs, or products. The rubrics help learners generate and justify assessments and allow them to take more responsibility for their learning. Step 11 focused on ensuring the quality and alignment of the learner's materials and its assessment tools. Quality assurance is an important part of the assessment process. This QA process provided feedback to teachers regarding the quality of the developed assessment materials. This process made sure that all elements and contents are aligned to the learning goals and outcomes. The last step that capsulizes the readiness is the packaging of the assessment materials. Step 12 is the last step where teachers organize the learner's assessment materials and ensured that all parts are complete before the delivery of the assessment guide. This is a sample of performance assessment guide developed by teachers that were distributed to learners. This served as a step-by-step guide on the completion of learners' output. Subject area requirements are being merged in one major final product. These are also sample rubrics of different learning area requirements attached to the learner's assessment guide. These rubrics guided learners in the crafting of the output and for teachers in evaluating the outputs. I would like also to share to you the sample products of learners from different schools. These outputs were displayed during the quarterly showcase of learners' outputs, inviting the stakeholders and the parents. The showcase of outputs were done in schools either in virtual or limited face-to-face holdings depending on the community quarantine protocols. In face-to-face gatherings, we ensured that the LGU and BLGUs approved the activities, and we made sure also that there are available health staff to ensure monitoring and implementation of safety health protocols. Para naman makita namin kung may epekto ang nagawa naming inobasyon, nagkaroon naman kami ng evaluation at the end of the school year. The year-end survey was conducted and it is evident in the results that teachers' experiences as to challenges in the delivery of quality assessment reduced from very challenging to challenging. Teachers claimed that the provision of capacity buildings and mentoring sessions on the development of theme-based assessment helped them and eventually reduce the challenges they experienced in the delivery of authentic performance assessment to measure learners' understanding. According to the teachers, since thematic assessment provide wide range of assessment tools to learners, they found it to be helpful in ensuring that learners are given the task to freely show their knowledge, skills, and values in the targeted outputs. Teachers also claimed that thematic assessment provided flexible assessment tools to learners since learners are allowed to choose experiences within their homes and their communities and transform these experiences into tangible outputs and products. The outputs of learners were manifestations that there is an improvement of learning outcomes through the created tangible products. Lastly, thematic assessment realized the provision of academic ease since learning areas required minimal tasks and output requirements to learners through the integration of subject areas, competencies, and tasks into one major final product. Ayon sa mga guro, nababawasan ang kanilang preparation time and checking time since nababawasan din ang mga tasks dahil na-capsulize na sa produkto ng mga bata ang iba't ibang learning area requirements. Based on the findings, the following conclusions are laid. First, the gaps and challenges encountered by teachers in the delivery of quality assessment in distance learning were addressed using PAG-ASA intervention. Second, thematic assessment using PAG-ASA helped teachers design authentic assessment that measures learners' understanding of the competencies. Third, thematic assessment reduced number of performance tasks designed by teachers since learning area requirements are merged to only one task using themes. And lastly, the thematic assessment reduced the number of outputs required for learners since learning area requirements are lumped into one final product. In the context of this study, these recommendations may be reconsidered by our department. First, DepEd Central Office may revisit the curriculum design and may integrate thematic context in the contents and performance standards of the curriculum guide. Second, regional offices may promote the culture of using thematic approaches and assist the schools division offices in leading the development of thematic assessment. Third, schools division offices must lead and provide intensive upskilling of teachers and school heads on developing thematic assessment as well as monitoring and evaluating its effectiveness in schools. Fourth, schools must innovate varied thematic assessment methodologies to ensure quality delivery of authentic assessment to diverse learners. Fifth, teachers must design varied thematic assessment materials that will provide options and choices for learners suited to their capacity or proficiency level. And lastly, researchers may continue conducting similar research to provide a more improved findings and results. Today, we are very happy that one division offices in our region is adopting the use of integrative thematic assessment. By using a more student-focused thematic approach, integrated learning provides opportunities for involving a wide range of students' potentials in the learning process, making learning more meaningful and fun. The quest to quality education is a continuous journey. We need to move forward and see what lies ahead. No research is ever quite complete. It is always a never-ending process para sa ating mga kabataan, para sa ating mahal na bayan.